Good morning, everyone. If we pray for this, we'll do more of God's will than we ever have in our life. We'll be more faithful to God than we ever have if we pray for this every single day. What do you think it is? Think about it. And what the gospel just unfolds for us today, and we can kind of see it in our first reading as well, the whole focus of being wisdom. What is it? What can we pray for every single day that's going to help us to do more than we ever have in our faithfulness to God? Let's review a little bit last week, because really last week and this week go hand in hand, or glove in hand together. So remember, last week's parable was the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish ones. The wise ones brought oil for their lamps. The foolish ones did not bring oil at all. And so when everybody had gone to bed, and all of a sudden the cry came out, the bridegroom is here. So the wise lit their lamps, and the foolish ones said, "Give us some of your oil." And the wise ones gave them their oil, and after a while, everybody's lamp went out. No, wait a minute. That's not what happened. All right, no. The wise ones said no to the foolish ones. Like, Father, I think aren't we supposed to share? Okay, yes, but this is not a parable about sharing. This is a parable about being faithful to the purpose in which God has placed in our heart. And this is the reality, and we just unfolded it in this way. We're never, never, never called to be nice. We're not called to be nice. That is to say, the way that the culture defines it, nice is whatever we need to do just to keep the peace. I mean, you have your truth, I have my truth, and, let's just be nice to each other, and we'll all have peace. Okay? That is not what he's calling us to do. Okay? We are always called to be kind, compassionate, thoughtful. We're called to be wise, charitable, right time, right place, right way, all of those things. But we're not called to use an irrational or unreasonable means to bring about some sort of semblance of peace. And that's really what would have happened with the wise virgins and the foolish ones. They're all up in arms. Please share us some oil. And it's like, well, okay, even though I know that I only have enough oil to fulfill my purpose. And what I need to do is turn to you and say no. And that is a challenge, and it really unfolds most especially in our personal relationships. We're called not to be nice. Always kind, always compassionate, always wise. Right place, right time, right way. But especially with our spouses, with our spouse-to-be, with our children, with our grandchildren, with the people that we work with. The reality is that, if we choose to be nice, and I can guarantee you, I'll be nice today. I'm not proud of that. All right? You'll be nice also. And what I'm saying is that we will essentially ignore what we really need to do just because it's easier. And be patient with yourselves. Okay, none of us are perfect, and we're all on this path of greatness. The great thing is just realizing it. Okay, I know I should talk to this person about this. I know. So now if I don't acknowledge it, I just bury it, then two things happen. One, it builds until you blow up. You just lose it on your family, your friends, your coworkers. I'm sure that I'm the only one here that has done that, I guess. Looking out there. No one else has lost it, all right? Oh, I guess everybody else is more of the other side, passive aggressive. Okay? You can see this especially with our spouses, He can't stand it when there are crumbs on the counter. There they are. Kind of get that little dig in there. She can't stand it when I leave my towel on the floor. Oh, well, there it is, just kind of on the floor. I kind of get those little digs in, or they could be much more subtle. I'm using those as big examples. If we don't deal with these things that God is calling us to, then it builds. You can really see this in the experience of anger. Any of you experience a bit of anger? A lot of times we think we're angry at this person. We're angry at our spouse. We're angry at our children. We're angry at our grandchildren. We're angry at our coworkers. We're angry. You're not angry at any of them. You're angry at yourself. Why? Because you've been nice. Because God is asking you to address a situation and you've stepped back from it. Hand in glove with this week. This week, how many of us, I'm sure that all of us, at least in some portion, could relate to that last talent, the person that was afraid and they buried the talent? Okay, I think we all hope for the 5 talent and the 2 talent individuals, but all of us are guilty of that 1 talent where God's given you something, time, talent, treasure, something, and we have failed to use it. We have failed to give. We know, and again, going back to last week, in our personal relationships, He's given us this individual to love, to lay down our lives, to give. He's given us this community to work with, these people to work with, to cultivate, a real sense of teamwork. And there are things where we push to the side. What is it? What is that thing that we should pray for every single day? It is courage. Courage. Courage is not an absence of fear. Courage is the strength to do what God is calling us to do, even when we're afraid. And we can even zero that in. Well, what do you mean, do what God is calling us to do? That which is wise and charitable. Remember, think clearly, judge rightly, act decisively. That's wisdom. So I know that God is calling me to this. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what she's going to say. I am afraid of what He will do when I tell Him what's really in my heart. And that this is the very substance of true peace and true communion. Okay? Again, generally speaking, maybe, this has application in just a small portion of our life. Maybe this is forefront for us. For some of us, it is. Okay? However it unfolds in our life, guaranteed, God is calling us to exercise this courage. We have to ask for it. He gives us the grace, which is the strength, to do what we know we need to do, even though we're afraid to do it. Courage can, if you don't have wisdom with courage, there's two major things that it can unfold to. One is confusion, and the other is stupidity. Okay, so courage without wisdom in the realm of stupidity would be like a soldier who leaves his group, runs out in the midst of the enemy, shooting, his weapon, completely leaving everything, and everybody says, wow, look at him. He must be courageous, running into battle alone. He gets picked off and dies right there in the middle. And some people say, wow, so brave. Not brave, stupid. Because he separated wisdom from courage. He's running into death. And are we going to call that courage? No. So it's got to be connected with wisdom. More of a subtlety, and this is confusion. A few years ago, there was a young lady in Maryland who was suffering from a cancer, and she was going to die. And she decided to engage in physician-assisted suicide. Now, anytime I mention suicide in this church, I always have to go, I think of my own family. I've had family members commit suicide. We remember that the church teaches that, taking our own life is a grave sin. We know it's a grave sin, but those who are doing that in that moment do not have full possession of their will. In that moment, they've lost it. They don't have possession, and you can't separate yourself from God in that type of act. You need full possession of your will in order to do that. Okay, so if somebody commits suicide, they haven't separated themselves from God in that act. That's the general disposition of the church. Now, in physician-assisted suicide, it's different, but yet still similar. See, the whole internet went crazy saying that this young lady is courageous. How courageous she would be to kill herself in order that her family wouldn't have to suffer or to see her suffer. And there it is. When you separate courage from wisdom, you get confusion. This young lady was confused. And where were the people in her life that would give her clarity, that would embrace her, that would say that the very source of love is to walk with somebody when they're dying? Grandma, Grandpa, you took me to Disneyland 3 times. You were always with me after every day after school. I sat and watched soap operas with you. I ate sandwiches that you made for me. I laughed at the things that you laughed with. I cried with the things that you cried with. Pappy, I'm here for you. And I'm going to be here in your suffering, and I'm going to walk with you. And it's going to be a privilege. And I absolutely love you, Pappy. And I'm going to be here right when you die. That is love. That's wisdom connected with courage. If you separate wisdom from courage, you get confusion or at worst stupidity. The reality is that this substance of the gospel and of love comes in our relationships. And they're very difficult in certain moments where we realize we have to exercise courage. That is to say, I am afraid of what they will say, but I'm going to step out, right place, right time, right way, and I'm going to be honest. And we're going to get through this. And it's through that confrontation, through that honesty, through that exercise of courage, that true communion and love happens. Every day, pray for courage.